Let's talk about Zhongli. What's going on, guys? Mira here, back again with another Genshin Impact video, and today we are going to be talking about Zhongli. So, first of all, I just want to apologize that this video has taken quite a few days to be released, and that is because I have been trying a lot of builds and team compositions with him, and also Zhongli is just a little bit more tricky to understand. So I just wanted to do all my research first before I make a video, and you guys can have a more informed decision before you decide if you want to pull for him. So before we move to Zhongli though, I just want to address some of the concerns in my previous Xinyan video. So if you haven't watched that video, I will link it somewhere up there. You can go and check it out for yourself. So basically, for Xinyan, the issue that I wanted to address is her constellation, and specifically her constellation 2. So a lot of people have been telling me that the Constellation 2 effects are a little bit tricky to understand, and I just want to clarify all of this with you guys. So if you look at the Constellation 2, it says that her Q, the physical damage, which is the first part of the damage, has its crit rate increased by 100%. So basically what people are saying is that it does not increase your critical rate to 100%, but rather it doubles your critical rate. Personally, I cannot confirm that this is true, but I have done a few tests, and even at 5% base crit rate, without any artifacts that increases her crit rate, I am still critting all of the time. So what I want to say is this crit rate is 100%, at least from my testing. So if you guys have any proof to show that the crit rate is not 100%, but rather it doubles your crit rate, please let me know and I will edit accordingly. Just a note though, this 100% critical rate only applies to the initial physical damage and not the pyro damage. So yeah, that's just one of the things that I want to clarify with you guys. So with that out of the way, we can move on to Zhongli. So just for a little bit of context, my Zhongli is at level 80 and he is Constellation 1, as you can see over here. So I will be going through some of his pros and cons as we go along. So let's start with the pros. So number one, he is super tanky, and that is because number one, he scales with HP, so I did put a little bit of HP on him in his artifact substats. Take note, substats, not main stats. And I will go through my artifact build on him in just a bit. But yes, so he's super tanky at 24k HP, and also he has a shield, if you look over here. So his shield actually gives him so much damage absorption, and that is partly because of the scaling. So the shield at level 6 gives almost 2000 HP as base, and also another 18% of his max HP. So that is a lot of HP, and also the shield duration is 20 seconds and the cooldown is only 12 seconds. So what it means is if you don't exhaust the shield in terms of, enemies breaking it through damage, then you would be able to keep it up permanently. So that is something that is really nice, especially when you're going against bosses that deal a lot of damage, and he would be able to just fend it off with his shield. Another good thing with his E-hold is that it will drain geo energy. So if you look over here, if there are nearby targets with the Geo element, it will drain a large amount of Geo element from a maximum of 2 such targets. So remember the Geo hypostasis? So right before you defeat the Geo hypostasis, he actually spawns 3 Geo pillars, and you can stand between 2 pillars and you can just long hold E and 2 of them will just disappear. So it's really convenient for demolishing Geo hypostasis. And also, come on, that looks sick as hell, right? So another thing that is good about him is that his Q, Planet Befall, has some insane scaling. I'm at level 5 and it does almost 600% damage, and it also applies a 3.5 second petrification status. So with this skill, you are dealing a lot of damage, and I mean a lot of damage. So moving on to his cons, first of all, his normal attack scaling isn't the best. Part of it is because I am using a pretty bad spear. It is at level 50 right now, but like I said, I will go through that just a little bit later. So the scaling on his normal attacks are about 40 to 50%, and it really is a little bit underwhelming. I am hitting like 300 damage per hit, and at my level, it is just not the best. So Zhongli is a character that is super reliant on his Q to deal a lot of damage, and his normal attacks just don't cut it. Also, because he is so reliant on his Q, you do need to regenerate enough energy to get his Q up before the 12-second cooldown, so you can spam it ideally. And we know that, you know, characters like Venti are able to do that with multiple enemies, and you should technically be able to cast this repeatedly and regain a lot of energy if you cast them on a group of monsters. But of course, if you are only dealing with one monster, such as a boss fight, then you won't be able to get that amount of energy recharge back. So what he can rely on is his E. So this is where it gets a little bit weird. Okay, so his E has two forms, as we know, right? So the first form is the normal press, and the second form is the hold. So with his press, you do summon the pillar that resonate, and it will deal geo damage, and thereby giving him back some energy. And with his hold, he does generate a shield. So honestly, I don't find myself summoning the E a lot, because first of all, the E is really wonky because it doesn't allow you to aim. So for example, with Geo MC's E, you are able to aim and choose where you want to put your Geo Construct, but with the pillar on Zhongli, you cannot. And this is especially annoying when you fight bosses, because it is automatically targeted on top of the boss, which it immediately disappears if the boss is strong enough. So basically, if I summon on any bosses, my Geo Construct will just disappear and I will not get the benefits of it, which is the energy recharge. Of course, at Constellation 1, I am able to have two of them appear on the map. So, like I said, his E is a little bit wonky in the sense that his E press regens more energy, but at the same time you cannot aim it. And his E hold is a lot more useful, but because it only deals damage once, you won't be able to regenerate as much energy as you want. So let's talk about his Constellation just a little bit. So for Constellation, I am at Constellation 1, and what it does is it increases the maximum amount of pillars that his E can summon. So basically, instead of having one, you can summon two. And honestly, it is such a bad implementation, in my opinion at least. So if you are giving us the option to summon two pillars, why do we have to still deal with the 4-second cooldown? Right? So at least cut the cooldown of the second summon by half, you know, like 2 seconds maybe. But no, we have to deal with the 4-second cooldown, and if I press and it hits a boss, it just disappears and I have to wait another 4 seconds and I have to aim it somewhere else. Like, I can't even aim it at the boss, right? So I have to aim it at like some random place, and what if it doesn't hit the boss? Then I wouldn't be able to get my energy recharge back, right? But of course, using this in the Spiral Abyss is another story, because you are dealing with groups of monsters for the most part. So this will be really useful with regenerating his energy. And that is something that you could consider, because I do think that he is a pretty solid character for Abyss. So I will not be covering all the constellations from C1 to C6, but I will be flashing them on the screen. So if you are interested, you can just pause the video and read them. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's move on to artifacts. So for artifacts, I actually cracked my head for a really long time before I settled with what I am showing you guys here. And before I get into it, I just want to say shout out to Vongola for providing me with a lot of the information that I needed, and also advice on the artifact sets. So if you don't want to miss that, do join the Discord, link is in the description. So yeah, basically what he said is that the Archaic Petra and the Noblesse Oblige would be the ideal items to build on Zhongli. And also we are rocking a crit rate and crit damage build. So let me just go through the artifacts real quick. So for the flower and the feather, it is pretty standard. You go with HP and attack, that's the only stat. But for the timepiece, you go for attack percent, and for the cup, you go for geo damage, and over here you go for crit damage. So basically, this build revolves around maximizing his geo damage output, so you can have some damage on his E pillar and also his E hold, and most importantly his Q. So this entire build is centered around his Q, and that is why we are going with the attack percent on most of my items and even on my weapon, as I am about to show you. So next we move on to weapons. So basically on my Discord, this is what Vongola has said. This is actually where it gets interesting. He does recommend the Deathmatch and the Primordial Jade Spear. So these spears are the crit rate spears, and that is the premise of which we are building our artifacts on. Because if you take a look at my artifacts, especially my mask, we do go for a crit damage build here, which results in me having a lower base crit rate. So you see my crit rate here is 37% and the crit damage is 131%. So this is a really nice crit damage build, but you do need the crit rate spear to pull it off. So for weapons, definitely you should go for the Primordial Jade Spear if you have, and if you are following my artifact build, because if you are not, then this may not be working the same way as me. So Primordial Jade Spear or Deathmatch. So as you guys can see, I am using the Royal Spear, and that is because of two reasons. Number one is very simple, I don't have Deathmatch and I don't have Primordial Jade Spear. Okay, number two is the Royal Spear is a good substitute for the two of them because number one, it gives attack as its main stat, so you are getting a little bit more scaling on your normal attack and on your geo attacks as well. And number two, because I want to focus on crit rate, this weapon actually allows me to do that, although it's not the best, but it's the best that I have. So it increases the crit rate by 8% upon damaging an opponent, and it caps out at 5 stacks, but unfortunately if you score a critical hit, it will remove all stacks. So basically what I do here is I'll go in and I'll just hit a little bit and I'll cast my Q and pray that it crits. Okay, so that is why I am using the Royal Spear. So next we move on to team composition, and what you're looking at here is the ideal team that I have, at least for Zhongli. So this main character can be swapped with Ningguang if you have her. So it really depends on your choice, but the Geo MC is more ideal if you are lacking in crit rate, because for her talents, she actually raises her crit rate of the characters that are around her Geo constructs. So if you are looking to create a high crit rate team, or at least a high crit rate for Zhongli, then the Geo MC is definitely recommended over Ningguang. And for Ningguang, you are going for that geo damage because her screen will give that extra 12% geo damage. So it is really up to you what you want to pick. For me, I went with the Geo MC. And Fischl and Diona is just there to cause the superconduct elemental reaction. So what that does is it decreases the opponent's physical defense, and it will make life a little bit easier for Zhongli if you are using him. But this is not the team that I'm running, unfortunately, and that is because I have not built the main character. So what I have chosen is, if I were to incorporate Zhongli into my team, I will pair him with Diluc. So basically the two daddies of Genshin Impact will be in one team, and that is because number one, I have Constellation 1 on Zhongli, which allows me to put 2 Geo Constructs, and that in itself would already increase the range of his resonance. And number two, I just have more faith in Diluc for causing consistent damage compared to Ningguang and the Geo MC. So over here, actually Xinyan would also be a good choice in replacement of Diluc, because she is also a solid DPS that does consistent damage. So if you don't have Diluc, not to worry, you can also use Xinyan. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you've stuck till the end, thank you so much. I know this video has been really long, and that is partly because Zhongli has been a pain in the butt to itemize for. So yeah, if you haven't checked out my Xinyan video, I will have it linked in the description. And also, if you haven't joined my Discord, do consider joining it. Link is also in the description. If you have any questions, do feel free to drop them in the comments. I will be answering them to the best of my ability. So thank you for watching this video, and smash the like button if you have enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!